Yes, we'll talk about that here in a second because it is cold out there. But here are three things you need to know this morning regarding last night's impeachment. First, the House has voted to impeach President Trump. Now the process moves on to a trial in the Senate. Coming up later in the show, we take a look at past impeachments and how they could be different from President Trump's.
The Senate will hold the impeachment trial in January. Congress is about to go into holiday break. No start date has been determined. Third, Democratic presidential candidates took to Twitter to share their thoughts on last night's vote ahead of tonight's debate in Los Angeles. We will have more details on where and when you can watch tonight's debate. Now let's check in for our forecast for today.
Cold out there this morning. You'll have to have the coat on before you walk out the door because temperatures in the 30s and 20s. We'll look at about 34, 33 degrees here in the Triangle, where up in the lakes area, you're right around 30, maybe even some places in the upper 20s. Quick warm up once again, like we've seen the last couple of days, thanks to the dry air out there. We'll be in the upper 40s, close to 50 by 10 o'clock. And then look at the afternoon highs. We'll be up close to 60 degrees for later on this afternoon. Sunshine again today. Winds will be a little bit more out of the east instead of the north today, so that'll help warm us up a little bit. Between about 5 and 10, won't be much of a wind for this afternoon. Expecting to see a chance of rain coming in on Saturday. We'll look at those rain chances, and we'll also look at the forecast over the next 10 days, which will include, of course, Christmas holiday coming up next Wednesday.
We are so close.
I'm pumped.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
The forecast is looking good, too.
All right.
We have done what we have set out to do. The House has acted on a very sad day to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. To do so in a manner that was fair, even though the other side was mischaracterizing it. Nonetheless, it was fair and appropriate and urgent.
The impeachment inquiry of President Trump now moves on to the Senate trial after the House voted to approve the articles of impeachment. President Trump becomes the third president in U.S. history to be impeached, with Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton.
Here are those charges one more time against the president. They are abuse of power of the presidency and obstruction of Congress. However, this doesn't mean that he is removed from office immediately. That will be determined during the trial. Meanwhile, Republicans voted unanimously against both articles.
Now, following the vote, House Democrats said the vote was in line with what the Constitution intended. House Republicans canceled a press conference that was to take place after the vote. But President Trump, he did take to Twitter saying that this is an assault on America and an assault on the Republican Party. We are monitoring his Twitter page this morning. Nothing yet. We'll let you know if he tweets anything on the impeachment. He is back in Washington this morning after holding a rally in Michigan. About 10,000 supporters filled the Kellogg Arena in Battle Creek last night.
Since the vote was happening during the president's rally, his reaction was in real time. President Trump accused Democrats of carrying out a lawless process aimed at nullifying the votes of his supporters. He warned that future Democratic presidents could be treated in similar fashion.
So if the Republicans, if you had a Democrat as president, we have a Republican House, they don't like the guy for whatever reason, or the woman, they impeach the person. It's cheapened it. It's exactly what our founding fathers didn't want, and they said it could happen, and it's happened.
As of this morning, the president has no scheduled events. He is expected to prepare for the trial, which could be set in January.
This morning, we are asking you, now that the president has been impeached, will you support him in 2020? You can continue to vote on the 12 News Now app, also online, 12newsnow.com/vote. And right now, 84% of you, a big majority of you, 84% saying yes. And also stick around for the Today Show after daybreak for live analysis of the impeachment vote. NBC's Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd will join the morning crew to break down last night's debate. Also, Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham has his reaction. Meanwhile, there were some Democratic candidates that are running for office that posted their thoughts ahead of tonight's debate in Los Angeles. Taking a look at some of those tweets right now, we start with Joe Biden, former vice president, saying the president abused his power, violated his oath of office, and betrayed our nation. This is a solemn moment for our country. Peter Buttigieg posted, our lawmakers take an oath not to the party but to the country. That oath is all the more important in the most difficult of times.
Senator Bernie Sanders posted a video after the vote. He said, today is a sad but necessary day for American democracy. The U.S. House voted to impeach President Trump, and that is the right thing to do. Senator Cory Booker said this process has uncovered alarming evidence that an American president used his official power for personal gain. It put our national security at risk and obstructed the investigation. Today was a sad moment for our country. And finally, Amy Klobuchar posted, she says the founding fathers included impeachment provisions because they feared that a president could betray the trust of the American people. The House has fulfilled their constitutional obligation. No one is above the law. Again, you can catch the 6th Democratic debate tonight at 7 on PBS. And the moment watched around the nation was historic.
There is deep significance with impeachment since President Trump again was the 3rd president to be in this position in U.S. history. Lester Holt continues our team coverage.
Even in the infancy of our nation, there was a palpable fear of an unchecked chief executive. So nearly 230 years ago, when the framers gathered in Philadelphia to sign the Constitution, they found it necessary to include Article 2, Section 4, impeachment, a mechanism to remove a president for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors, fearing a return to a British monarchy style of government.
The framers of the Constitution wanted to make sure that the president would not grow into a king or a dictator. They wanted to make sure that there was something in the Constitution that would allow Congress to keep that from happening.
Impeachment, a measure so severe, it has only happened 2 times before in American history. Andrew Johnson was impeached in the House, but later acquitted by a single vote in the Senate for trying to remove his Secretary of War without congressional approval.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
The 37th president, Richard Nixon, resigned before he could be impeached, facing near certain removal from office, confronted with 3 charges stemming from the break-in at DNC headquarters at the Watergate.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Bill Clinton was impeached for lying to a grand jury about his relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Without a 2/3 majority to remove him, President Clinton was acquitted in the Senate. The impeachment of President Trump comes at a time when Washington, and indeed our nation, is deeply polarized, a moment sure to define a turbulent era.
Ultimately, the country has come out of these moments of fire and division stronger. The great question for us is, will we come out of this moment of fire and division stronger or weaker? And that's going to be up to all of us.
Stay with 12 News on air and online for continuing coverage of the impeachment process. We will also have team coverage on tonight's Democratic debate from Los Angeles.